Okay, now we're going to do the second part of this video. I'm going to do problems number 4 and 5. So number 4, we're asked to solve an equation using our graphing calculator. So if we start with letter A, you notice there's already a 0 on the right hand side, and that's really important because when you solve an equation on your calculator, you want to make sure you have a 0 on the right hand side of the equation. So in the second two, in B and C, notice we don't have a 0. So in B, you'd have to subtract 7 from both sides to get a 0 there. And in C, you'd have to subtract x and add 3 to both sides to get a 0. But in A, we're all set and ready to go. So what we do is we enter the left-hand side of the equation under a function under y equals. So we'll put in x squared. Whoops, I made the wrong exponent there. So x squared minus 5x minus 6. And once we get that in there, we want to graph it, and we want to make sure we set the window so that we can see where the graph crosses the x-axis, because the x-intercepts are going to be the solutions. So I'm going to do zoom 6, which is your standard, remember, just for starters, and we'll see how that looks. Now, you see right here and right here where it crosses the x-axis. Those are going to be the solutions. So to find those points, we do second calculate, which is your trace button. So second trace, and then it's the second one down called 0. So we hit enter on that. Now it's asking us for a left bound. Now we can find these two x-intercepts one at a time. So let's say I want to start with the one on the left. So for the left bound, I want to move the cursor using a left arrow key a little to the left of where it's crossing here, and then hit enter. Then it asks for a right bound. So move it a little to the right of where it crosses and hit enter again. And then it's asking for a guess, so you move it as close as possible to the point where it crosses and hit enter a third time. And notice it says the 0 is x equals -1. Now the y should always say 0, but the solution is -1. So you would write as one of your solutions to this equation, x is equal to -1. You repeat the process to find the other solution. This equation obviously has two solutions because it crosses twice. So you do second trace, 0, left bound, move it over to this side, hit enter, right bound, move it to the right, hit enter again, guess, get it close, hit enter last time, and the other solution is x equals 6. So the two solutions are -1 and 6 for this first one. Okay? Now let's do B. Now remember, the first step in B is to subtract 7 from both sides. The other thing we have to know how to do is enter in absolute value into our calculator. So let's try this one. We'll hit y equals. We'll clear this out. To get the absolute value, we're going to do our math and then number. So I hit my right arrow to go over to number, and it's that very first one, ABS. Hit enter, and notice it comes up as absolute value symbols. Your calculator might actually say ABS with a set of parentheses, and that's another way it can be done. And then you have to close the parentheses at the end of the absolute values. So 9x minus 3 inside there, and then I want to get outside, so use the arrow. And then remember, it's going to be -7 because we subtracted 7 from both sides to get a 0 on the right hand side. So that's the function we want to graph. Okay, so as long as I can see where it crosses, that's good. I'm going to change my window just so I get a little bit better picture here. I'm going to go from -1 to 5 on the x-axis. That'll spread it out a little bit. Actually, I'm going to go from -1 to 2 on the x-axis. Spreads it out even more. Okay, so now we'll do our process. Again, there's two solutions here. and we'd find them one at a time, doing second, calc, and then 0. And then you do a left bound. I'll do the one on the left first. So left bound, enter, right bound, enter, guess, enter. So the solution is x equals negative 0.444. Now we'll repeat the process to get the other one. Okay, left bound. Enter, right bound, enter, guess, enter. And the other solution is x equals 1.111. All right, now for C, again, remember we'll have to subtract x and add 3 to both sides to get a 0 on the right-hand side. So the equation that we really want to graph is the square root of x plus 2. Now to get outside the square root, I hit this arrow key. And then it'll be minus x, because we subtracted x from both sides. And then plus 3, because we added 3 to both sides to get a 0. And we'll graph it. Now notice here I can't see where it crosses, which means I have to change my window. It looks like it's starting to come down on the right side, so I need to see farther to the right. So let's change our window to go farther to the right, which means our x max has to be a larger number. I'm going to go up to 15 and regraph it that way and see what happens. Okay, so that looks pretty good. Just to make sure there's no solutions on the left side, I'm going to change the window to go back a little farther to the left. And so you see there aren't any points here. That's because you end up taking square roots of negative numbers. It is possible it reaches a low point and comes back up. So to make sure it doesn't do that, I'm going to change the x max to a real big number like 50. And then graph it. So it's pretty clear now to me that this only has one solution. It's right here. So we'll find it. We'll do second, trace, 0. We need a left bound. Hit enter, right bound, hit enter, guess, hit enter a last time. So the solution here is x equals 5.79, or 5.791 if you went to 3 decimal places. Okay, the last problem is actually going to be quite important for us in the material that we are covering right now, because it's how to make a scatter plot on your calculator. We have a set of x and y values. These are data points, and we want to make a scatter plot, meaning just plot the points. So to do this, first I'm going to hit y equals and just clear this out so there's nothing in there. Now to do this kind of a plot where you want to plot a scatter plot, we need to use our stat and our stat plot options. So we're first going to hit the stat key, and we want to edit, meaning we hit enter on edit so we can enter the data in. Now you may already have data in here, like let's say you did have a couple pieces of data in there. Then you're going to have to clear them out. The way you clear out a whole list of numbers, I only have 2 here, but you might have more, is you go up and you highlight L1 and then hit the clear button. Now I know it doesn't look like it cleared them, and then hit enter. And you'll see that clears the whole list. And you could do the same for L2 if you wanted to clear that. Just go over and highlight the top list L2, hit clear, and then enter. Okay? So you'll need to know that, because after today you'll have data in there and you'll be needing to clear them. So to enter, what you do is you use L1 for your X's and L2 for your Y's. So we want to put 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4 in for L1. So just hit each number with an enter after each one. And then to enter the y's, put them in L2. We'd have 10, 25, 42, 53, and 70. And once you get your data in there, you have to set up what kind of a plot you're going to do. The way you do that is where it says stat plot. So you do second and then y equals. And you really want to make sure all of these are off except plot 1 you want to turn on. So right now you see how plot 1 is highlighted, but it's off. So I'm going to hit enter on plot 1. I'm going to turn it on. The type should be set to the very first one. That's a scatter plot. So if it's set to something different on your calculator, move it to that one and then hit enter. For X list, notice it says L1, and that's correct because we put our X's into L1, and Y list says L2. And for the mark, I usually just leave it on this first one because that makes the points show up nice and big so you can see them. And you would normally have to worry about your window here to make sure you set your X min and your X max and your Y min and your Y max so that you could see the points clearly. But there's a feature on the calculator that will automatically zoom it so that it fits everything nicely. And that's really nice here. And that's under zoom. So you hit zoom. And it's number 9. I can always remember that, but you might not be able to. So you can always scroll down. It's called zoom stat. It's number 9. And you can just hit either the 9 key on your calculator, or you can scroll down to zoom stat and then hit enter. Either way. I usually just hit zoom and then the 9 key. And when you do that, notice it shows these points. Here's the first one, 0, 10. That's the second one, 1, 25. That's 242, 353, and 470. So we can, in this box here, we could just, with our pencil, we could just kind of duplicate what that graph looks like by plotting those points. Let's make a rough sketch when you do yours on your handout. And to fill in these window settings, if you just hit your window key, it'll show you what the X min and the X max and the X scale and the Y min and the Y max and the Y scale are. So you can write those in. These are the numbers that the calculator figured out on its own when you hit zoom stat. It worked that out on its own. And then you can hit the graph key to go back to your scatter plot. Okay, that's it for this video. Hopefully that helped you learn some of the basic features of the TI-84 calculator.